Hi, I'm Caroline and I'm from Good Doggy. Normally my videos are based on dog behaviour problems, dog psychology, theories and ideas and techniques and things all related to dog behaviour. But today I thought, just for a change, I would talk a little bit about how you might get into dog behaviour, either as an actual job. Maybe you are interested in becoming a dog behaviourist or a trainer, or perhaps you want to improve your behaviour skills in the job that you're currently in. Maybe you work with dogs as a dog walker or a groomer, a pet shop owner, anything like that, where you feel like you could really benefit from learning more about the dogs that you're working with. So even if you're not really interested in giving out advice to people and you just want to kind of find out more to improve your own skills, then I want to talk a little bit about that, because there's lots of different routes into dog behaviour and people regularly ask me what I think the best one is. I'll tell you a little bit about my route into dog behaviour, but there's a few others as well. So you could maybe take a degree course. Obviously that would take a long time. There'll be lots of research involved in that, and lots of academic studies and science based studies and things like that. So you would look at that, and over a long period of time you'd learn a lot about dog behaviour, psychology and those kinds of things. That would lead you into a more of a clinical role perhaps. And if you wanted to be a clinical dog psychologist or behaviourist, that might be a route you would consider. But there are others. So there are pet courses that you can do which are specifically aimed at learning dog behaviour for your business. A company called Cope do them, Compass does them, and there's loads of others on the internet as well. I guess my main thoughts when it comes to doing a course is that it has accreditation. Now, of course, you don't need accreditation to give advice about dog behaviour and training, and you don't need to have accreditation to use knowledge in your business. But if you are thinking about going into business as a behaviourist or trainer, I feel like there's lots of things changing at the moment in the world of dog behaviour and training. We've seen the banning of e-collars. We've seen other kinds of techniques really starting to be pushed out. And really the emphasis now is on standardizing the industry. So I think that giving advice to you now, it would be do a course that has accreditation. But which accreditation? There's so many. So let's take a wee look at a couple. These are common ones, but there are loads more. But these are the ones that probably you're going to come across the most. So to start with, we have the ABTC. This is the Animal Behaviour and Training Council. We have the FAB, the Fellowship of Animal Behaviour Clinicians, and the CCAB, which is the Certified Clinical Animal Behaviourists. Now these three here specifically are much more research based. So these are going to be much longer courses that you will work on over a long period of time, and you'll end up with a really high level qualification as well. So once you've completed your qualification, you'll be entitled to apply for these accreditations. There's a fourth one though as well, and that is the APBC. And this is the Association of Pet Behaviour Counsellors. You're going to find a lot of courses that are available that are relevant to this accreditation. The two mentioned earlier with Cope and Compass, those are both linked to that accreditation, but many courses you're going to find on the internet are. And this is really more about standardizing the information that you have and the kind of style of teaching that you'll be offering. But you're not going to get a big qualification at the end of it, but you will get that important accreditation. It's really impossible to know what's going to happen over the next few years with accreditation. It's possible, of course, that it will all fizzle out and nothing will change. But if it does, these are the types of qualifications and accreditations that are most likely to be chosen as the ones that prove that you have the knowledge to be able to register yourself as a behaviourist or a trainer. So there's no crystal ball into the future, but that's where I would probably recommend. That's the direction that you probably should head in. Alternatively, I did say you don't need any accreditations and qualifications to become a behaviourist. And many brilliant behaviourists and trainers are operating without qualifications at all. They've done lots of these little courses. So the way that accreditation works is that once you've done courses that are linked to these accreditations, you then have to pay for those accreditations, and you have to maintain those payments every year to keep that accreditation to your name. So lots of people have done courses in the past and never paid for that accreditation. That doesn't mean that they don't know what they're doing. They absolutely do know what they're doing. But whether you need that accreditation or not, it's probably an important question if you're considering going into dog behaviour and training yourself. If you want to just enhance your skills, that's probably not important to you. So you may not choose even to buy into that accreditation system and maintain those payments. The courses that I did years and years ago were attached to accreditation, but at the time I didn't see the benefit of continuing up with those payments. Very few places and other trainers were accredited, and obviously things have changed a lot over the last 20 years. So I've lost my accreditation, but the courses I did back then earned me that accreditation. And when I was first starting out, I did have it for a year or two, but after that I stopped paying for it. But you don't need accreditation to practice as a behaviourist in the UK. So maybe that's the route you're thinking of taking yourself, in which case I would try to make sure you take as many courses as possible. Just because they're not accredited doesn't mean they're not good courses, but look for things that are based on science and based on modern learning. Anything that talks about hierarchies and pack leaders and dominance and submission and alpha theories and, you know, things about, you know, wolf theories and that kind of stuff. Dominance theories and alpha pack theories were debunked a long time ago, almost as quickly as they were developed. One very flawed study which people extracted information from and drew some conclusions, and almost as quickly as they drew those conclusions and published them, they retracted them. But it's stuck with us for a really long time, and there's loads of behaviourists and trainers that are still using these methods and they're still teaching these methods. So avoid anything that talks about that. What we want to be talking about is using positive methods that build up confidence, build up resilience, help dogs cope better and help them make better decisions for themselves, rather than us constantly telling them not to do things. These types of courses will teach you how to encourage them to do the right things and how to reward that. So any course that you're on that is encouraging that kind of theory, you probably can't really go too wrong on. So start sucking up as much information as possible, and don't just take it from one source, take it from many. There are loads of places on the internet. There's obviously YouTube. I've got tons and tons of videos on different theories, and I'm going to continue to add to those videos as well. So please subscribe so you can keep an eye on my upcoming videos on different types of behaviour and techniques and theories and stuff like that. I love to share that with you. You'll find blogs, there's loads of people on YouTube as well, so follow lots of different people and try to get a good mix of ideas. And then really, once you've gathered lots of information, you can start to formulate your own ideas from those, and you can start to make your own techniques that are going to suit you and your clients and the dogs that you are working with. So I said at the start that I did things a little bit differently. And the reason for that is because my goals were different. When I first started learning about dog behaviour, my goal was just to learn more about my own dog. You can check out my story in some of my other YouTube videos. I talk about Molly a lot and how I got into behaviour, but just very briefly, my initial goal was just to learn enough about dog behaviour that I could help her. I made a lot of mistakes with her, and she'd become quite unmanageable, and she was showing aggression a lot, and I'd had a behaviourist out to come and help me, but they were using those old-fashioned dominance-based techniques, and that didn't sit well with me. So my initial goal was just to learn how to help her. And then once I'd done that, and I'd realised actually what was actually going on for her. She was anxious, she wasn't being dominant, you know, and once I started to figure that out, I got very interested in the subject, and I just read more and more and more and got more carried away with it. And as I did that, I was able to help people that I knew. So I started giving out advice to my friends and friends of friends, and anybody kind of that asked, I was really pleased to be able to help them. And that really just kind of, it's just escalated from there, really. There was a niche at the time. There was a real need for people to come and bring new reward-based positive techniques to dog behavior. 20 years ago, there was a tipping point where people stopped wanting to bully their dogs or dominate their dogs. They wanted to move away from that. And I think at that time it was perfect timing for me, because I had just started to learn all these great new positive techniques, and I was sharing them with anybody that was interested and wanted to know. So before I knew it, somebody had offered me money, and I thought, wow, this is, it's a really good time for me. My son was quite young. He was just a toddler. So he was starting to grow up, and I was getting a little bit more time for myself. I was a stay-at-home mum at the time. So it was the perfect time for me to start taking courses. And so that's what I did. So I kind of learned the dog behavior side first. I did what I needed to do. And then I realized that there was more opportunities for me in that. And at that time of my life, it was perfect timing. So I started doing the courses, and those courses were really what gave me the confidence to go out to people and start to advertise myself as a behaviourist, because it wasn't just stuff that I knew that I kind of tried and tested on my own dogs. It wasn't stuff that I read out of a book that was passing on. I'd actually learned this stuff, and other people had seen what I'd learned and had agreed with me that I knew what I was doing. So I was getting excellent grades through all of my courses, and that's what I needed to be confident to go and work with other people. So those courses were really a turning point for me. But really, I didn't start to become self-employed and more confident until after I'd spent a bit of time working in rescue. So I would suggest to anybody that's interested in coming into a career working with dogs, with training and behaviour issues and things like that, to spend as much time as possible watching other dogs, not even interfering, not even trying to change their behaviour or doing anything with them, just watching them. So much to be learnt just by sitting still and watching other dogs as they communicate with each other. They'll problem solve with each other. They'll initiate play. They'll stop play. You'll get to see exactly, how do they express themselves when they're happy? How do they express themselves when they're feeling naughty? What do they want when they're trying to annoy another dog and get them to run away so they can chase them? What does that look like? You can see what dogs look like when they're comfortable, when they're angry, when they're distressed, when they're surprised. And just watching the way they are with each other when they're naturally just being dogs. They've forgotten that you're there. It's an amazing experience. It's something I would definitely recommend to anybody. So if you get an opportunity to watch a group of dogs, even go out in the park this weekend and just sit and just watch dogs playing with each other, because you'll just learn so much from them and what looks like normal dog behavior. So when you're working with a client or you're working with your own dogs in your own business, you can start to recognize, when things are about to go wrong, or actually is that dog just being an idiot and trying to get the other dogs to play with them? Is he just trying to really instigate kind of a bit of play? Behavior means so much. Context is so relevant. So that was really the most important part of my learning. Once I'd learned all the nuts and bolts of it all, watching the dogs interacting with each other really just kind of finished that all off for me. And that's what gave me the confidence then to become self-employed and actually take this seriously as a role. So it was a good few years between the bit where I decided I was going to help my own dog and do some research to the bit where I decided I was going to become self-employed and take that plunge into that journey. But I'd had lots of experience working in rescue. As I say, watching the dogs was important, but then also working with them, working with the people that came, people that had adopted the dogs. I started fostering my own. And during that time, I was able to try lots of different techniques and see what worked really well for me and see what impact techniques had, especially with foster dogs. When you have a dog, you can try a technique on them and you can see what impact does that have on their behavior now, and in a week, and in a month, and in a year. You can watch how that behavior can change, and if there are any sort of side effects that you should watch out for, and which dogs suit what techniques better. So those poor foster dogs that came and spent time with me got, lots of techniques tried on them, and obviously they were all really positive, and somewhat better than others. But when I went out to become self-employed, I had a huge repertoire of techniques that I was happy to to advise. And, you know, that was 2007. I became self-employed, and the techniques I'm using now are really, they're different from the ones I was using then. Even since then, I didn't stop learning, and I would suggest that you don't either. Once you feel like that you've gathered a lot of knowledge, continue to look out for courses and workshops and webinars. There's tons of places on Facebook where you can watch free webinars where people will have conversations about behavior and stuff like that. Something just to keep your mind thinking about new techniques and new research and new knowledge and how you can apply that into your business. So that was a little bit about my journey. I think if I went back and did it again, I guess if my goals were still the same, maybe I wouldn't change anything. But knowing that I wanted to become a behaviourist, knowing that I was going to take this route and this was going to be a plan and a really good business for me, I would have done the courses earlier, and I would have maintained my accreditation, because that's something obviously now that's on my mind while I'm thinking about all of the changes that are happening in councils. Dog walkers are starting to be forced to be registered. We've also got boarders and kennels and home boarders and things like that, which do have to be registered. Rescue dogs in Scotland have to be registered. Rescue centres have to be registered. I mean, so lots of changes happening. And so I think if I would go back and do it again, I would be focusing on those courses and maintaining that accreditation and keeping that up to date. The other advantage, of course, of having accreditation is it allows you to work with dogs through their pet insurance. So pet insurance companies, there are a few of them about that do cover behaviour work. So when people come to you with a dog with behaviour issues, you'll be able to say to them, does your insurance cover this? And it's really just a huge advantage for you, and it's a weight off your owner's mind that it won't matter if they need, you know, a couple of hours with you or 20 hours with you, then they'll just happily continue for as long as they need to keep their dog happy and to get that, you know, final end result with the dog. Taking away the financial burden of employing a behaviourist is, you know, a huge thing for a lot of people. So yeah, so that's how I got here. I hope to do a few more videos about working as a behaviourist, and also bring in dog behaviour into other types of businesses. So if you are hoping to niche your business, maybe your business is you're a dog groomer or you're a dog walker and you would like to niche and specialise in something, I highly recommend niching and specialising, because it really helps people make a choice in such a saturated market. If everybody's just a dog groomer, how does somebody choose? But if you are a dog groomer who is trauma aware or anxiety specialist or something like that, then it just means that you have a way to differentiate yourself from everybody else. And it helps people choose you if that's the problem they have, without having to do too much research, because it's right there in front of them. You're a trauma aware dog groomer, you're going to have the tools that you need to help their dog. And when people's dogs are happy, then people are happy. So anyway, that's the aim, really. This video is to kickstart more videos like that. So I'm going to be back talking maybe about how to assess behaviour and how to recognise when you need to change what you're doing, how to set up your business. If you have a question, you've got this far and you would like to ask me a question about how to introduce more behaviour knowledge into your business and how that might help you, or any other way that I could help you, then please do pop your comment into the box below. Ask your questions in there, because that just gives me an idea of what kind of things people want. Otherwise, I'll just make it up and I'll just hope that I'm hitting all the right notes for you. But definitely let me know what you want in the videos, and keep an eye out for the behaviour videos and the psychology videos, because if you're just interested in learning more to help the dogs around you, then there's tons and tons of information in there. But do check out my story, check out Molly's story. She was my first dog, my Bernese Mountain Dog, and that's really where all of this started from. So please check out those other videos, subscribe for future videos, and I will see you next time.